Hey, study buddies! Welcome to Abroad Sex Education, where we discuss everything you wish you learned in school. I'm your host and hottie with hot takes, Cin. And today, my study buddy is Brooklyn.
I'm back, bitches.
Yeah. Nice. This podcast is a sex education resource intended for an adult audience. We'll be having real, inclusive conversations on topics like gender, sexuality, pleasure, relationships, and more. Some topics may be considered explicit or sensitive. Our goal is to break the stigma and provide the kind of sex education many of us never got. We're learning too, and we're bringing what we learned straight to the classroom so we can all grow together. You deserve to know what this is about so you can make an informed choice to listen. Or not. That's what consent looks like, even here. So, again, same as last week. It's a little bit of a busy time for us. So, wanted to do a episode where we talk through our hot takes on dating in this century. What is the title? So today we're going to be doing a study break on hot takes and real talk, where we give our hot takes on dating. I think this could be a reoccurring, so just hot takes and real talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then people can submit requests for what they want you to talk about.
Yeah. So new segment created.
Just now. You were in the meeting.
So this is hot takes and real talk, where we're going to be talking about popular opinions and beliefs people have around dating, and we're going to give our takes on them.
And for the sake of the podcast, because this was a question in one of the card games that you gave me, and I was like, that's so weird. What do you mean? And then I talked to other people, and we had differing opinions. What do you define dating as?
So that's actually a great one, because that's the first one is, what's the difference between the talking stage and the dating
Perfect.
stage? And so I love the mindset that dating is when you go on a date.
I
when
agree.
You go, when you physically decide to see each other for the first time. If you haven't gone on a date,
Yes.
then you are in the talking phase.
Okay, I agree with you on that.
But once you leave the talking, once you go on a date, when you decide, okay, we are going to meet in a time and place to suss out if we like each other, then you are on a date. You are dating. I think people will use talking stage to mean just like, oh, we're not that. It's just like we've gone on a few dates and we're just talking, which I think is stupid.
Listen up, men with commitment issues.
Yeah.
It's called dating because you're going on dates.
Right. And it just doesn't make sense for that to just be the talking stage, because I think people use that as a justification if they don't see anything going with someone, to just ghost or not make the effort to be like, hey, I don't think this is going to be working out. But wish you the best,
Yeah, I think you're on to something there. I think it does have something to do with commitment and maybe not being able to be an adult and handle that situation the right way. Because to me, I agree with you. I thought that's what dating was. And then my friend talked to two of her male coworkers, and they both defined the term dating as no, you're committed in a relationship and you're exclusive.
No, that's in a relationship.
I agree.
At that point, this is my girlfriend, boyfriend, partner.
Yes.
I am in a relationship.
I agree with you.
Which you should still be dating your partner in that time.
You're still going on dates, hopefully.
Yeah. But no, you created this extra step to push it back.
Right. Well, and I feel like that's using it as an excuse to not call it dating, but you're taking this person on dates. And the idea, if you are dating somebody, in theory, should be to move towards a relationship until you find out that's not what you want. If you're just trying to date them for as long as you can without commitment, then you're just using people. You're just kind of a shitty person.
Right. I mean, so many opinions on dating. I've dated a lot of people who have a commitment phobia. And it's a weird thing to be I want to meet people and I want to have someone in my life, but you are just so emotionally unavailable that you're but I can't give you more than what you're asking for. It's okay, then I would rather have nothing from you.
Yes, then go to therapy then, because I do believe that when people say that, they genuinely mean it. They do really want somebody, but they have this emotional immaturity where they believe in this golden person that's perfect, and they just haven't met them yet. And all of a sudden things are going to change when they meet this magical person on the planet, and it's not.
Right.
Like there's a lot you learn from each relationship as well. So I feel like if you're somebody that has never been able to be in a relationship, you probably have some inner work to maybe do and work on those commitment issues.
Yeah. I've had the opposite experience with someone who had commitment issues
Mhm.
where they always felt like they were not good enough.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the entire time it was just like, you're asking a lot from me. Like, all I was asking for was to go on dates, to be able to see each other at least once a week. You
Mhm.
know, we were together for a year. I'd never met anyone in his life.
Yeah.
Like, none of his friends, none of his family. And like, even when he ended things, he was just like, you know, I think you deserve better, blah, blah. And it's like, you are the roadblock
Right.
in this entire situation. I know what I wanted from a partner. And then I was like, these are the things I want. And he's like, I'm not able to. That's just not who I am. I was like, then why are you acting like you want to be in my life?
Yeah.
Like, it didn't make sense.
Do you think there are people, other partners, that realistically would also want a separate life? So is there another person that wants a relationship but also like never wants to intermingle circles of people and not see each other more than once a week? What do you think about?
I think that, I think that's definitely possible. If two people agree that that's how they want their relationship to be, I'm not going to judge you. If you never want to live together, you want to have completely separate households, if you live together and want 2 separate bedrooms, like, I have no judgment on that whatsoever, because it's like, that's your own space. Like, I can understand it.
Yeah. I also feel like living in separate houses, I would accept that sooner than we don't want to meet each other's friends.
Right. I was asking him to show up as a partner in a specific way, and he felt like he was not able to do that, which is why he didn't do it.
Right. He was like, you deserve better. And you were like, please be better.
Yeah.
And he was like, can't. No.
If he met someone else that was asking for what he was willing, then great. Hope that works out for you.
Yeah. And I feel like we're kind of dancing around attachment issues.
Yeah.
And I feel like this sounds like an avoidant partner.
Yeah.
And he might need another avoidant partner
Right.
to make that work. And usually they're not going to be drawn to each other because they wouldn't get anywhere.
One of the next lessons is supposed to be on attachments.
Oh, yay.
Because that one is an easy one to
Mm-hmm.
kind of walk through.
And I feel like a lot of people want to listen.
Yeah.
You know, like people, I feel like this is so sad. People that are the anxious people in anxious avoidant relationships are all listening to the millions of podcasts and YouTubes. And I know because I have friends that are doing.
I know because I am. I have an anxious attachment style. And usually those are the ones that are like more drawn to people who are avoidant. Because it's like the push and pull dynamic.
Right.
And even in that relationship, because I had been trying to work on my attachment style in that situation, which was tough because I would only hear from him before like 12 o'clock. And if it was past 2, I wouldn't hear from him for the rest of the day. Like, I would just he would just be like so busy with his life.
Okay. Wow.
I would never hear from him after that time of day. And I just remember thinking, like, I had to like regulate, be like, it's fine. Like, I'll be able to talk to him for a while. Like, I had to learn a lot of like healthy self-regulation things that I didn't have to. I mean, I don't worry about that now because Ace also thinks he is an anxious attachment style. I don't think so. He's a very secure person. So
this is rare.
Yeah.
Our friend that is a therapist told me, she's like, they're very rare, secure people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was a study that was like, most people are secure. I was like, no, they're not.
No, most people, no.
No.
I can't think of anything less attractive. I'm just kidding. I wish more people were secure. No. But I feel like when I sit and think about, like, who do I know that's secure? It's really hard for me to come up with somebody that is like, not somebody that was like anxious or avoidant, has been working on it, like to think of somebody that from the start has been secure. It's really hard for me to think of somebody.
Yeah. Another thing that he says, he thinks he may have like anxious moments, but a big trait of the secure attachment style is like, you know, your life is going to be fine, regardless if this situation with the partner works out or doesn't.
Right.
And like, he and I were both very on the same page about that when we first started dating. We were just like, well, if this doesn't work out, we want to make sure we're respectful about it because we are in the same friend group, and we want to make sure that you don't feel weird about it and that we can at least still be like kind and respectful to each other.
Right.
But I don't think there's been any situation like that where I got that impression from a guy that like, if this doesn't work out, it's gonna be okay, or usually either them pushing because avoiding attachment style or them feeling like anxious. Yeah.
And maybe not to make this whole episode about attachment styles because that's coming later, but maybe we react to different people in different situations with more anxious or more avoidant behaviors, and maybe secure is kind of like they don't really lean into that very much.
Yeah. I think because even as someone that is working on being a more securely attached person, it was like a lot of like mental self-talk and like regulation. Just be like, okay, what am I feeling in my body right now that's like making me feel this anxiety? And my ex gave me a lot of practice.
Shout out.
But I think getting to a point where it's be like, well, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. Everything is going to be fine.
You'll still be okay.
Yeah. When we were moving, I found the journal that I wrote when we broke up. And in the last episode, I talked about how I was like, I knew there were some like red flags in that relationship, but I was like, no.
I'm going to look past him. Yeah.
It was that one was a very limited situation.
Okay.
That's why I like mentioned in the last one. But I was like reading that notebook and it was just me being like, I'm not upset that he ended things. I'm just upset that I let it get this far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was like, I already knew by that point that like my best friend from NorCal hated him.
I was going to say, did your friends see the red flags? Because I feel like the friends are always the ones that don't have limerence and they're like, what is happening?
She was like, he put me through a lot of mental stress.
Well, because no one loves you more than your friends that are watching this happen, right? And yeah, they're in a tough position because I think you as a friend want to tell your friend like,
oh, she told me.
but they never listen. I've done it too. And I've been like, they're mad at me and I'm like, okay, well, I guess we'll talk after this fizzles out. You know where to find me.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my.
Yeah. So about that topic that we were actually going to talk about today.
The talking stage versus the dating stage. I think anyone that thinks that the dating stage is the talking stage may have a very avoidant attachment style.
When you were talking, I was like, I feel like we should talk about attachment styles because this is really sounding like some bullshit and we need to address it.
Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And if you're listening and you're like, no, this is the talking phase, like work on being less avoidant.
Go there. So yeah, talking stage, dating stage. I think that we agree there. So.
Yeah, we do. I don't know if that's helpful for a podcast purpose, but I think we are in agreement. And we decided if you don't agree with us, it's because you're avoidant.
All right. The next one is, this one I think we might have differing opinions
Oh, I'm
on.
excited.
So the ick is reason enough to stop dating someone.
You want me to go first?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on the ick?
Just as a yes or no, I would say yes, the ick is a reason to stop dating somebody. However, I am someone that at some point while I'm dating somebody, there will be a point where I do get the ick and I have to navigate it, whether I'm going to get over it or not. And usually I do get over it, but there is always a point that I get the ick. And things will be going great and then the ick comes out of nowhere and then I'm like,
Yeah.
And then but I know like it's happened since I was a teenager and then I have to navigate whether I can get over it or not.
I think it obviously depends on what you're getting the ick about.
I agree.
But in general, I feel like the ick is kind of silly.
I feel like the internet has made it silly.
Yeah.
Like if you're getting the ick because your man or partner cheated on you, that's a good reason to have the ick. If you're like, he's got a blue briefcase, that nobody uses briefcases. If you're like, he has a blue backpack and that gave you the ick, you know, those reasons that you see on like Instagram and TikTok that are silly.
Yeah. When I saw that was really funny on the internet, it was someone who had like a detached earlobe and they were like on a boat and singing the earlobe.
No respect to that.
But it was like her husband. And she's like, oh God.
He has to have cosmetic earlobe surgery.
So I think it's fine if it's something you're just like, oh, I don't like this, but it's fine. Like, because I mean, in terms of my relationship right now, I think one of the first things that like I kind of had to like get over
Yeah.
was Asa is literally a nature person. He is a mountain.
That gave you the ick?
No,
Oh.
that wasn't. It was just the Thanksgiving at his place. He left the door open for his room, and it was just messy. And I was just like, and I got the ick. Not, I'm also messy, so I understand that. Like,
It's different when it's yours. It's cute when you do it.
but it was just the fact that I'm like, oh, like this is also like something I'm trying to work on myself.
Oh, yeah.
Issa had an open big tub of peanut butter.
You told me about this before. I feel like you found this out and were like, I gotta talk to somebody about this, because you did talk about it before, and I was like, I don't have an explanation. That's really strange.
That was my. He does the thing where he like, we'll leave it there and put it away later. It's like, you couldn't have just taken off the spoon.
Yeah.
Covered the
If
lid.
it's food, you have to, like, there's gonna be bugs and ants and stuff.
Right.
Well, and that's an interesting thing that you just said, because you said, like, I was trying to work on being messy. And so I wonder if the ick also has, like, something to do with parts of ourselves that we've tried to shed.
Yeah.
Although, I'm going to bring up this legendary date that I went on.
Okay.
You know what it is already, that I got the ick.
Oh, yeah.
And then I ran into you and Asa, and you were like, I could tell you were not having a good time. I went on a date with a man that didn't know how to read, and that gave me the ick. And I was a deal breaker. It was very unattractive, and I stand by that.
No, that is a fully valid.
Thank you.
It's a life skill that's necessary in the world.
Yeah,
So I feel like that's a fully valid ick.
thank you.
That is a good deterrent of being like, I don't think
We're just not compatible.
right.
It's a lifestyle difference.
That is something that could bleed in and affect like your relationship in a way of like, I need you to go take care of this thing for me. And like you gave them directions to do it. I mean, he could read your text messages, right?
We did text. My concern is how many people have talked about people using ChatGPT to text, and he would talk about using it all the time for work. So I thought we were texting, but who knows? Maybe I was just dating an AI model.
Oh, that I'm not surprised. Maybe he just didn't have a wide vocabulary.
And it wasn't even the vocabulary. It was sight reading was a problem. So maybe if he was in charge of the language, maybe it was okay in a text message. I don't know. But he did at dinner was like, oh, I don't read books. And like, I couldn't remember the last time I was in a library. And then we went into a bookstore and he started out loud incorrectly reading words. And I was like, this needs to end.
You were like in your hoodie and in your pocket. You're just like,
Waiting for it to be over.
and then he was like, oh my God, Victor's over there. I was like, oh, this was what you're going on here too.
Yeah, and it was a very crowded place. Like
Yeah.
the chances that we would have run into each other, we were not in like a small town or
No.
anything. Like it was very spontaneous, but I love that you could just tell from my body language that I was like not down.
It was the fact that you were not down and you were more excited that Winston was there.
I was excited to see all three of you. I was like, oh, people I like. And actually, what I noticed is interesting you say that, because I felt myself like light up inside when I saw people that I liked and wanted to be around. And I was like, oh, my energy just really shifted. And that's not how I feel being around this guy. Because this is embarrassing to say on a podcast, but we were already on like date 3 before I found out he couldn't read. He was just pointing at menus. I don't know.
I think by that point too, we had only really hung out for
It was early when we had met each other, because you and Asa were fairly early on too.
we met each other at Clock Tower before,
Mm-hmm.
but we like didn't have our like friend date, our first
Yes.
friend date until you came back from for Thanksgiving, and
Right.
then I told you everything about
Yes,
how I
yes.
liked him and stuff. And so that window, and then the window, me and Asa's first dates, literally within 2 weeks.
Yeah, so me and Asa were both trying to get to know you at the same time. Like I remember sitting on the couch and being like, I'm gonna be her friend. And then Asa was like coming and trying to also, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like Asa's great, but I'm trying to get friends with this girl.
Yeah. And then we were just our date. It's funny because our date lasted the whole day.
It did, yeah.
And
It was
then-
great.
Me and Asa's date lasted 3 days. And I was like, yeah, these are my people.
Exactly. I was like, it was an instant connection.
Yeah.
Like yeah, that was great. That was not how my date went. Other people, obviously. But that's a good comparison. Like you instantly click with somebody. Well, that's not a good comparison, because I don't think you have to instantly click on a date. I think there can be slow burns too.
Yeah. But in terms of the ick, if it's an ick, that will affect how they could treat you in the future, for sure.
That's a good, yeah.
Yeah. If you're getting the ick from like them making misogynistic comments in passing or something like that, for sure.
The way they voted, maybe.
Right. Valid ick.
I don't think you even need a reason to not like somebody or not date somebody. The ick is, I would even say, separate from that. I don't even think the ick's the reason. Like, you could just be like, this isn't what I'm looking for. I don't have the ick for you. It's just not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
What's the silliest reason you've ever gotten the ick?
I don't feel like, I think when the idea of the ick became popular, I was already like more cognizant of my emotions and my feelings to be like, oh, this is what I do and not like a person. Versus like when I was younger and I was like dating, I wasn't necessarily thinking about like, oh, what don't I like about this person?
Right. And that's a good point too, because I feel like when you're young and you're dating, you're kind of just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
At least I was. I mean, I'm sure like there are people that get married really young, so they're not doing it for fun. But so to me, the ick has always kind of been mostly a joke on like the internet, you know, on Instagram or whatever. But I have had friends and conversations with friends where you're like, I don't know, they just did something that gives me the ick. And it's usually just something that's kind of like a reflection of who they are or who they are at their core. That's kind of like, ugh, that just like turned me off to that person. And those I don't think are silly. I think that's what you're saying about there are valid reasons about the way they're going to treat you or who they are at their core. I think that is a good reason to get the ick.
Yeah. I think it's just, the ick is just generally a turnoff. I think when people do it in the silly way, like the earlobe thing, like that seems like a very early stage dating of like, you haven't really defined what you do and don't like about a person to be like, just finding any reason like, oh, that's not for me.
That is a good point. I think, yeah, early on, you don't know them, so you haven't decided if you actually care about them as a person. And so that's when you're going to have those weird ick moments.
Right. All right. The next one is there should be sparks or butterflies on the first date.
I also disagree.
Yeah, I think butterflies are anxiety. I think spark is like you looking for like chemistry between you and that person, and then butterflies is the obviously like the internal feeling nervous about a situation. When it comes to the spark, it's usually it's like you want people to click immediately and like you just like vibe really well. I think that's more likely to happen in terms of friendships than it is to happen in romantic relationships. Because the intention is different than when it's just two people that are just friends. You know, like you can have like, I feel like we had a spark when we went on our friends' date.
Yeah, because we were like laughing, having a great time. And we were like, this is great. We have so much in common.
Right. To have that on a date, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I don't think you should hold so much weight on it happening.
Yeah.
Versus butterflies, if you have butterflies in your stomach, I feel like that's you putting someone on a pedestal and feeling nervous instead of actually evaluating if you like that person enough versus concern of like, will they like me enough?
That's a really good point because butterflies could maybe be a sign that you're intimidated by the person. And I think we're in agreement again on this one that I don't think that's necessary to have butterflies on the first date. I have heard like on other podcasts that I've listened to that a lot of times couples will rewrite the story. So if they've stayed together for 40 years or whatever, they'll say, oh yeah, the first date we had like sparks, so it was love at first sight, yada, yada. I can tell you I've had friends tell me that it was love at first sight on their first date and they're not together anymore. So I think that is a factor that it kind of like feeds this false idea that that's how things are. And that's, I mean, it's a Hollywood movie that way, right? But I think realistically in real life, at the very least, you want to be like evaluating the person and maybe like, okay, I want to get to know them better. You know, there's like a little chemistry or whatever. But all of those sparks and butterflies, like it doesn't have to be a yes or no instant on the first date. I would say after the first date, that's too soon to know.
Yeah. I think after going through some TikTok therapy, one of the things that has popped up on my feed has been the idea that if you feel butterflies, it is your body signaling that there's something about that person that's familiar in a way that triggers your trauma, like your attachment. And every instance I've had butterflies on a date and had pursued something with that person further, that has been the case where like it was an anxious avoidant like situation. So I mean, that applies to me. I'm not saying that applies across the board, but I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense if that was the case, because it's kind of like a like fight or flight warning. Like, it's exciting, so it's confusing, because like if you're anxious or if you're excited, your body reacts the same way. So I think you could easily mix that up, but that if you have higher adrenaline, you're going to be more attracted to the person. So if your body's making you nervous, then you will be more attracted to that person, whether or not you should be.
Yeah. The study that we learned about before, where your body can't tell your heightened emotions are because you like someone or because you are in a situation.
Your life's in danger.
Yeah, exactly. So, agreed. I think you touched on another one that we were going to mention, but this was that you shouldn't judge someone solely based on the first date. And I agree with this. I put a little asterisk that unless there's glaring red flags.
Oh, oh, that's important. Yeah.
Yeah. My rule of thumb is give someone 3 dates. Because I feel like the first date, you're still trying to figure each out. One or both of you could be really nervous. And then I think by the 3rd date, you've somewhat built enough of a rapport to decide, like, do I find this person interesting enough to keep dating them? But I do think that by the 3rd date, you should have a sense of, like, I want to keep dating this person more or not.
I actually have a hard 3-date rule, so it's interesting you said that, because oftentimes I need time to decide if I like the person. So I'll, even if it's like, there's this guy whose name I can't remember that I went on 3 dates with, and I was trying so hard to be attracted to him, like physically attracted, because he was such a nice, good guy. And like, I would just like, oh God, am I attracted to this guy? And so I gave him like 3 dates, and then I still couldn't get there. So I was like, okay, 3 dates with, like, this is just a friend thing. And then 3 dates is when I found out that other guy couldn't read. And then I've also had dates where the first date I was like, okay, I'm attracted to this guy. And I'm kind of hold my breath till the 3rd date to see, like, okay, I'm still into him. So I'm going to try, like, keep going. So I also have a 3rd date rule that I don't know why it's 3 dates. Maybe it's different for other people. Maybe they need 5, but at least 3 dates to have like a first impression of somebody.
Admittedly, in my 20s, I had not given people more than just the first date. And I also think that I was also looking for someone that, like, I would have a spark with. And
oh, definitely.
I think that I didn't give some pretty decent guys a chance because of those 2 things, like me just being dumb in my 20s. Because there's an idea that love is passionate and grand and all of this stuff. And you think about that, especially when it comes to dating, like wanting like this passion, that versus like wanting someone that's safe, that's like going to listen to you. We'll talk through those things. And granted, after having got through therapy and like work those things out, I can reflect now and be like, I can't say like, oh, I was never able to find someone, because I definitely think I had dated guys before who like were super sweet to me, were super kind. I interpreted at that age as like, oh, they were boring or like they weren't that interesting, but it wasn't that. It was just the fact that I already didn't give them a chance because they were just safe.
Right. Yeah, and like that roller coaster of emotions can be exciting, especially when you're young and you're like, I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like because I've just been watching rom-coms or whatever. And so that feels like how a healthy relationship or how love works and how it should be. But I think once you've experienced enough of that, then you're like, wow, you know, it would be really nice with some stability. And then that kind of leaves maybe those people that were the exciting spark in our 20s confused when we get to our 30s, when they're no longer that exciting.
Yeah.
Or they're not able to like get as much interest anymore because people just see that they're kind of not stable and not as long term. I think as we all mature and grow, that's kind of part of the process.
It's the same how I feel about the movie The Notebook. When I was
I hate that movie.
Well, when I was a teenager, that was like my favorite movie. I loved that movie. I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
They love each other so much. Like they like fight, but they make up and they make it work and they found their way back to each other. And then like watching it as an adult, I was like, they suck. They shouldn't be together at all. They are basing their whole romance on like a 3-month fling that they had. And then just like pining the what if situation. She was happily committed to another man.
To gorgeous James Marsden.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're just gonna dump him, please.
Gorgeous rich James Marsden.
Yeah.
Who her family liked, that was just as sweet, nice and kind, and like made her happy, for this man that she just like knew when she was 16,
Right.
who she didn't even want to date to begin with.
Yeah.
Like when they first were going out, she was like, no, like I don't want to talk to you, like I'm already on a date, whatever. And yeah,
and they just fought the whole movie. I was like, this sucks.
The entire time.
It was the materialists, but back then,
Right.
where she also picked the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And I hated it from the first time I saw it. Just like I hated the materialists. But for the same reason, I was like, this relationship sucks. Like, I don't want to be in this fight this whole movie, but with them we were.
Right. It was just so toxic.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is this is a big budget Hollywood film that came out when I was in high school that shaped what I thought was what love in romance is like this fighting, this passion, and all of that stuff. And then growing up now, and obviously working through all this shit and be like, no, this is extremely toxic. This isn't healthy. And now I am very much of the mindset of like that, even though that movie is a relic of its time, I don't think that depiction of romance is healthy in any way.
Also, one of the things you brought up was like that was your idea of what love was. And they also had so much free time. Like I feel like with real life, you're like, I am working a full-time job. I'm busy and I'm stressed. I don't have time for extra drama that doesn't help improve my life. And I feel like when you're a teenager, you don't understand that. So you're like, oh, wow, this is so exciting. And you have this like misinterpretation of what is fun and exciting and what is like, after a while that gets old, and you're like, no, I actually want somebody that is like on my side and on my team that I'm not always having to butt heads with.
Yeah. Is there any romance movie that you feel like was a good depiction of love growing up, or at least recently?
Like my favorite rom-com?
Yeah.
My favorite rom-coms, I have two, and we actually talked about this at our friend's house recently. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is one of my favorite ones. And I think part of it is because it's like she's making jokes about all the silly things that women can sometimes do in relationships. Mostly she's being anxious and he's being avoidant, Matthew McConaughey. But I love that movie. That's one of my favorites. And then one of my other favorites, which I don't agree with the main theme of the movie, is When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, I love. Why don't you agree with the main theme?
Well, because the theme is that men and women can't be platonic friends, and I think they can be. But I love that movie, and I love how their love is built on their friendship. And I love the scene that Billy Crystal is making her laugh when he's just improvising, and she like looks at the director, and he's like, signs to her to keep going, and you just see her like really laughing, and she's just like so cute, and I love that movie.
I know that's his main point in the movie, is women and men can't just be friends. And I don't agree with that. I do think platonic relationships can happen between men and women, but I do think that one is a good depiction of love, like over time.
Yeah.
Because again, they hated each other. I feel like most of the rom-coms I've watched were just like the big popular ones that came out in the early thousands.
What is one that you think is a good depiction?
My hot take is I think most romance movies are poor depictions of dating and love.
What about TV shows?
Like relationship couples?
Yeah. Like I'm going to just say the one I'm thinking of so that you can
Ross and Rachel?
No, I don't like them. I think he is so ugly.
They're
and annoying.
Terrible together. They suck as a couple. They shouldn't have ended up together. He sucks. They suck. Yeah. Hated them. And I like sitcoms. I love sitcoms. I usually hate the couple that they mainly choose. And then I usually like the side
couples. Yeah.
So like in New Girl, I hated Nick and Jess. Thought they were super annoying.
Yeah.
But I loved Cece and Schmidt.
Oh, yeah.
I like them together. And then the other one is in The Office. I hated Jim and Pam.
Yeah.
They just pissed me off.
They were problematic in a few ways.
Yeah. I think Parks and Recreation, I did love Ben and Leslie.
I also love Chris and Anne, because I love Chris. Like, I know he's just like such a silly character, but I love how positive he is.
Yeah.
And I think that they're like, she's a nurse and all healthy, and I think they're so cute too.
That show is probably the only show where I feel like every relationship that they highlighted,
Yeah.
even though they were like very big characters, big
Mhm.
personality characters, I think the dynamics in which they developed those relationships worked really, really well.
Yeah, it was a really like heartwarming and healthy, but still entertaining show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really well done. Except for Nick and Tammy, but that was kind of like a silly, funny.
Oh yeah, Nick and Tim. Well, that was
Sorry, his real name is Nick.
Ron and Tim.
Swanson, yeah.
Yeah. I mean all the endgame relationships. So
Yes,
April and what's his face?
Andy.
Andy.
Yeah.
April and Andy, I thought were like they were obviously
They were really cute still, yeah.
They made sense in their weird
Mhm.
way. And then like Ben and Leslie, so cute, love them.
Yeah.
And then I did like Anne and Chris, but they feel like we got the short end of the stick on their relationship
Mhm.
because when they had finally decided like they wanted to be together, they also left the show.
Right.
And so that was also what bummed
The
me out.
usual like happily ever after,
Right.
goodbye.
Right.
One of the couples that I think is a really healthy is the couple from Bob's Burgers.
Linda and Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're so cute and sweet. Like, I love their relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one is a good one too. I think most comedy shows have a good, because like the push and pull dynamic of a relationship isn't necessarily like, it's not a drama. You're not
Right. That's a different audience that they're trying to pull in.
Right. So I feel like they tend to have better love stories
Yeah.
than other types of genres. But yeah, Bob and Linda are great.
Mhm.
They're really funny.
Yeah. I love them.
All right. The next hot take was most people don't actually want a relationship. They just don't want to be alone.
I think that is true.
Right.
I don't relate to it, but I think for other people that is true.
Yeah. I think that relates to what we just talked about. There's all these depictions of what love is and what it is to be in love. And I think it's the stand-up that we watch.
I feel like we both have
Yeah.
the same thought. Go ahead.
That like a lot of people don't take the time to learn themselves and know what they want. It's like you gotta learn to love yourself before someone else can love you. Because then they can't match. If you're looking for someone to match your energy, if you don't if your energy is like, oh, I only like myself a little bit, then
Yeah.
if they
Or I
like-
don't know how I feel because I haven't thought about it.
Right. I don't think a lot of people understand what it means to be in a relationship, myself included in my 20s. I thought it was the passion and the fighting and all the stuff that we see in the movies and stuff versus actually like spending time and getting to know someone and learning their flaws and loving them through their flaws and stuff like that.
That's a really good way to put it, is like seeing their flaws and loving them anyways. And I think like when you're, at least in Western culture, when you're a kid and you grow up watching love, it's the key to happiness, right? So you're like, okay, this passion is what is happiness. And you'll think that will carry you through all the way, which is fine. We all need to have a learning experience and grow, and we, can be misinformed. But then I feel like so many people stay in relationships that are unhappy and unhealthy. I remember I was talking to a friend of a friend one time, and he's a gay man. He's not like in a heterosexual relationships, but we were chatting about this exact topic. And he hadn't been in a really long-term relationship. And, he was saying like his friends were telling him he should do it and find somebody, get in a relationship. And he was like, y'all are not making it look that fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I think it is, that so many people are willing to stay in a relationship that they're really not happy in because they don't want to be alone. And it's like, what are you doing? You have one life on this planet and you're wasting it being unhappy. Yeah. And maybe they're not even a piece of shit. Maybe you're the piece of shit, or maybe you're just not right for each other. Like maybe you would be such a better person if you're with somebody that makes you want to be better, and you'll want to be better for your next partner because you've learned from that. I think it's crazy to me that people are so willing to settle in an unhappy situation and just stick it out.
Yeah.
When you are dating and you are seeing people, it's not going to be 100% happiness all the time. But I think like learning to communicate with that person and work through it, and like, do they have your back when you go through something that's really, hard or scary or whatever?
Yeah.
Can they support you and like stand next to you, or are they kind of just like sucky? Are they making it worse? Like, I don't really know the reasoning behind why some couples are so unhappy with each other or why they've fallen out of love in some way. But I feel like if you could try again and maybe get it right the next time, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Right.
I don't care about finances. Find another way to fix that. You can make more money doing something else.
Right. In my first relationship, I was like, it's hard. And I stayed with that person because I was of that mindset where like, love is hard, but you just work on it. It's like, no, it genuinely was not the right person.
Right.
It wasn't the right fit. And so it's like, I think it's a lot of cultural pressure. Like, no, love is working it out. Love is choosing your partner and sticking to him because love is hard and marriage is hard, which I hate that.
You do hear that a lot. And I've always like, should it be that hard?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And like now coming from all my life experience, it's like life is hard.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Life is the hard part. The person that you're with shouldn't make the life part already additionally hard. Like the institution of marriage should be another roadblock
to your happiness, between you and happiness.
Right.
Yeah, agree with that. And I always, one of my like biggest things when I'm talking to friends about dating is I need somebody that has a good sense of humor, and I don't even just want them to think I'm funny. I need to think that they're funny. Like they also need to make me laugh. And I always say it's because life is hard enough as it is. Life is going to suck at certain points. So you might as well be laughing with somebody that makes you laugh through some of it rather than just miserable.
Yeah. I think there's just too much societal pressure to find someone and be in love and be in a relationship. Like if my friends or anyone I met, life was just like, oh, like I just decided I don't want to be in a relationship because I genuinely am happy with my life and love my life. And I just don't want to add another person to that mix. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I've never said that, and I don't feel that way. Like I feel like I wouldn't want to settle. Like I wouldn't want to add somebody that isn't adding something else. But I also sometimes will feel pressure from friends to be like, so anybody new? Like you guys will be the first to know.
Yeah.
But like not in a bad way, but I think that is still like an expectation of society. And I think it's maybe starting to dwindle down a little bit with the younger generations, but it is still, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just a question that people ask to make conversation.
There was a period of time where you weren't dating, so I don't ask you.
Right.
But then when you had mentioned dating, I was just like, how's that going?
Yeah, well, and I feel like because I told you, you were asking. But I mean, like when I see friends that I don't see, like from back home, that I don't see that often, then they'll be like, so are you dating anybody new? And like the way that they ask it, the way that I'm saying it is exactly how they ask it.
Right.
And I'm like, I'll let you know if something important happens.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because as a society, we hold so much value on love, on like the concept of love, the idea of love. But I said this in the last episode, I don't really think that a lot of people understand what being in love is. Because this is what I was like saying to Asa. I don't ever feel like I was in love in any of my previous relationships because that feeling and the feeling that I feel with him is completely different than any feeling that I've had before. It's a different bond. And I do think you can be in love platonically. Like I think like when the love that you have for like your child or your pets, to me, it's like, that is like a bond. Like that is my heart outside of my body. And like that is what I feel every time I look at Winston, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that feeling versus like, oh, people love you. Like that's like you love and care and respect for that person. But I think as a society, I think everyone thinks what they know what they're talking about. But I genuinely don't think a lot of people experience it to the extent of which I am.
So happy for you. Awesome.
Wow.
George. We can also say that most people don't experience it in a way that we are capable of.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the only way that you're able to understand it. And it's such a hard concept to try and explain. And I feel like you start learning about this as like a 5-year-old, right? Or a 4-year-old, where you're like, what's love? And somebody tells you in that format, and then we don't talk about it again. And so you're trying to like figure out this concept, but without ever experiencing it, how would you know? And what would you say your definition of being in love is now?
Being in love now is, well, I feel like it's like a sense of peace, of like stability. Like, I'm not worried, I'm not concerned. My favorite thing that I've seen on the internet was like, you're like in a healthy relationship where you're not worried about them cheating on you. You're just worried they're gonna die.
That's sweet. Yeah.
So I think it's more feeling at peace and like calm. And I always say that with Asa, like I feel like I am a storm and he is the calm for the storm. It makes you just feel at like level.
Balanced.
Yeah. Because I think that, again, if you're married to someone where you don't feel that level of balance, and then you're already at an imbalance going into life.
If you're already at an imbalance, then they also need to be equally imbalanced in order for you guys to connect and work. So they're going to be also extremely out of balance if you are.
Right. But if it's like your relationship is not in balance.
Right.
And then you decide to do life together.
Have a kid.
That's going to make, tackling all the
Solve
issues.
that.
Exactly. Problem son. Your relationships say, I hate it when people do that. 2 things I hate. I hate it when people will be like, well, we decided to have a kid to save the relationship. Like, you've just decided to
ruin someone's life. Nothing.
You decided you hate your child so much that you decided to put them through that. And then I also hate it when people are like, oh, we didn't get divorced for the kids.
Yeah, like that's a wild thing to say. I hear that often. And I feel like giving your kid the possibility to see you in a happy, loving relationship rather than resenting their other parent is an easy choice. Like the kids don't want 2 miserable parents. Like maybe have 4 happy parents, maybe one of them's miserable. I don't know. Yeah. But like that's a better ratio than 2 miserable parents.
Right. You are doing a disservice to not only yourself, but to your children in both of those situations.
I say this as someone that has no children. Leave the relationship if you're not happy.
Right. Right. It's wild. What made, and everyone, I don't understand what person
got you all worked
doesn't
up.
think that having a child and like bringing life into the world isn't hard, because mothers know it's hard. So like, why would you think that bringing this child into the world, which is already a hard life experience,
let's sleep less and have less sex, that'll fix this.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're already not doing those things, and then you're like, let's give it a reason. Let's justify it with a baby. All right. Yeah. Hot take. Okay. This one is, you shouldn't have to teach someone how to treat you.
I disagree with that one. I think you do. Yeah. I think because everybody wants to be treated differently. And I think an important question to ask before you commit in a relationship is, what do you want in a girlfriend or boyfriend? Like, what do you want in a partner? What is it that you're looking for, so that you can then assess, okay, that's who I can be for that person, or no, I can't. But I do think people and partners want to treat you the way that you want to be treated, but they do need to be taught that. And that can sometimes be bad. Like if they're treating you badly and you're accepting that, then you've also kind of taught them that that's okay too.
Yeah. Like if you're not setting up those boundaries of, I won't tolerate this behavior. If you're not setting those up, then, and they're treating you shitty, that's on you for continuing to let them do that. I agree that I think you should have to teach someone how to treat you. I think it's also like the same when you're having sex with a new partner. It's like you have to learn all the things that turns them on. They have to learn all the things that turns you on.
We're not mind readers.
Well, yeah. And the same with turnoffs, like the things that you don't like. And I feel like I was very clear with Asa up front. I was like, I'm a very easy person to date. I will give you a guidebook. I gave him, we have like a relationship handbook, like a handbook that you get on your first day at a job, because I'm like, this is all the stuff that's important to know about me. Like, this is the important, like our anniversary, or like things they should know. Before, I used to jokingly say that, like, oh, it's easy to date me because I give you a handbook on how to date me with how direct I am. But because Ace was so forgetful, I actually put it in writing. Put it in writing for him to actually reference something. I learned he's a forgetful person. So I just found my workaround through that situation, you know? I think that a lot of people assume when you meet someone, it's automatically just gonna like work. They'll know how to treat you, you'll know how to treat them. And I think when you meet someone, you'll vibe in a way that you'll click and then vibe in a way that it works great for you. But that's not to say there won't be any challenges about how you communicate, how you talk to each other that you won't have to work through.
Right. When I think if a person cares about you, they want to do better for you. And so I think they'll be willing to come to the table before you, if you can do it in a point, especially early on, before you get into a routine or where you're like cycling through the same fight all the time, then I think that's important. And I think you'll probably have less fights if they're treating you the way that you want to be treated, because what are you going to fight about? They're doing better things for you.
Yeah. All right. Ready for the last one?
Yeah, I think so.
The last one, and I think this is interesting, is you need closure to move on from a relationship.
Personal closure or like closure with that ex?
I think in this context, we'll say with your ex.
I don't think you need another person to get closure. I think some people will not be able to give you that opportunity or whatever that's supposed to mean. Like, I don't know if that means like getting together and talking about the play-by-play of whatever went wrong. But I think a lot of people use closure as an excuse to continue to reach out to that person and not let them go. But I think if they've treated you poorly or they've broken up with you, maybe they haven't treated you poorly, but they broke up with you or they're not interested, that is all the closure that you need. They didn't choose you, and that sucks and hurts. But I think taking time for yourself to heal from that is your closure.
Yeah. When I was younger, I felt like I always needed closure with another person. But I've come to realize that's just me being feisty and wanting the last word. Like, it was just me wanting to like go back and like say my point and have the last word and fight, which is not.
But also, I feel like a great way is to go live an amazing life that they have to sometimes watch.
Right. So my closure is I hate all of my exes. I get to a point where like even if we've broken up, don't get me wrong, I wish them well just as long as they're on my life. I don't care.
Right.
But the best way for me to move on, because I'm a feisty bitch, is I like to hate people. And I like to be a bitter bitch about it. And it's just because like I think for me it's because I know how much I pour into relationships and how much I care about people. And so it's like a way for me to redirect that feeling towards a different perspective that I need to have on them. My best friend says I'm too nice and I don't like to give up on people. And that's true. I don't like to give up on people, but I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, if you suck, I'm going to leave. Like, I don't care. But I think hating people or hating exes has always been a part of my process of moving on. And I hate it because on the internet, I was like watching TikTok therapy again, and they're like, if anyone is telling you like talking shit about their ex, like they're like a toxic person. I was like, no, my exes sucked. But I think it's fully valid for anyone who's dated someone and it didn't work out for you to be like, that person sucked. They were not for me. Because that's based on your interpretation. You are more than welcome to say however you felt about that person. And it's okay. If you feel good about them, if you feel positive, whatever you need to move on from that situation, you do that. Now my closure is just like, I don't want anything to do with you. When me and my last ex broke up, he like broke up with me through text message. I didn't even respond.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't get access to my life. My closure now is you don't get access to me anymore.
Yeah.
You're done.
So I feel like now I have a lot of thoughts. One, I feel like your response, like I hate them, is almost the response that like a best friend would have over their best friend, but you have that like about yourself. Because like I know my best friends hate my exes more than I do.
Yeah.
And I hate my friends' exes more than they do. Like, I will give you a real review of that man.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you're just kind of doing that for yourself, which is probably like a really good form of self-love. Another thing about closure is sometimes I feel like people have to try again to really know that they put it all in and that they can sleep at night. But so I think people have to put in as much effort as they can so that they're at a place where they're okay walking away. And then I also feel kind of similar to you, except I don't block people because that always gives me the chance to have the last word. because they'll always reach out. But I do feel strongly. I think so highly of myself that the worst thing I can think of to do to a person is to remove myself completely from their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in those situations, it's like, oh, I wasn't good enough for you. I will remove myself from this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like my closure. And then, it doesn't feel great at first, but you eventually get to the point that you get that closure.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you look back and you realize like, oh, you know what? Actually, that person wasn't really as great as I thought they were. I was really great. Actually, we were laughing a lot because I'm super funny.
Right.
Yeah. I was the one reading the menu. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the one that knew how to read. There was a video I saw online where this guy explained the like what if situation really well. He was like, imagine that you were on a vacation and you got to the vacation, your flight landed, you were going to go to this beautiful all-inclusive resort on the beach, and you were just ready to have this lovely trip. And then all of a sudden, like when you're at the airport, you get a call that's saying like, oh, hey, you need to come back because something happened back home. There's an emergency. You have to fly back. And so you go back home, and the entire time you're thinking about like, oh, I was supposed to be on this magical trip. I'm so frustrated, like being so upset that you didn't experience this. But it could have been possible that when you were on that trip, your bag could have gotten lost. A storm could have happened the entire time that you were there, that you couldn't enjoy the beach. You could have gone to the resort and it actually have been like really, really shitty.
Yeah.
And it's
Gotten
like,
sick.
yeah. It's like you live in these ideas of it could have been this amazing, beautiful, wonderful trip and nothing would have ever gone wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of this, oh, like I didn't realize it was like raining the whole entire time.
Yeah.
So when a relationship ends earlier than you had anticipated, you start living in the what if situation that's always really positive, but almost never really think about like all the negative things that could have happened too.
Yeah. That's a really good point, because when you fall in love with the potential and you've seen the potential of what something could be, especially if it's an early relationship, you maybe haven't seen their bad side yet. And so that's the worst type, because you're like, man, I don't know how annoying this person can be. Like you said, maybe it's like really not a good time. And the whole concept of this like fantasy of it being so great has to be like so much harder to go through mentally and emotionally than to just kind of know like, okay, that wasn't it. That wasn't for me. And then look forward to kind of see what else is actually for you.
Yeah. The two quotes that I learned to live by in terms of dating was, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
I love that phrase. But
Yeah.
not just dating, just
all of
yeah.
life. Yeah, agreed. I used to think that actions speak louder than words, and I don't believe that at all. I think your words and your actions should align. Because in my last relationships, I had dated someone whose words didn't align with their actions. And then after him, when I was just out dating in the world, I had met a guy who his actions was not aligning with his words. Like he didn't want to be in a relationship, and he told me that.
Oh, but he was acting like he did.
Literally like the sweetest man ever, treated me like a princess.
Yeah.
And so it was like seeing those two things so closely together. I'm like, no, like it's important that you need both of these things. It can't just be one and then not the other.
Yeah.
Thinking that they're just going to change the other part eventually.
Right. Yeah, I could see it. I could see why that would be confusing to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
And especially if you're like, if they're saying, I don't want to be in a relationship, but they're treating you like you're in a relationship, then I could imagine that being very confusing. And also you're more likely to stick around in that confusing situation, and they're still like free to do whatever because you're not committed.
Yeah. When do you think it's appropriate to have a conversation when you're dating? Like, where do you see this going?
I think it depends on the situation. I take a long time to open up to people. So I take longer than most people. And then I have friends that do it way too soon, that I feel like you don't even know that person yet. So I think it's different for everybody. I think I wouldn't say necessarily a timeline, but I would say like at a point once you've started to be like emotionally vulnerable with that person, then I think that's a good time to check in, because if you're being emotionally vulnerable, then feelings are involved and invested. And one, at least, of those people is looking at potential for an actual relationship. So I think it should be addressed so that you're both aware that you're going the same direction.
Yeah. I'm a very direct person, and I would just be like, my intention in terms of dating has always been to go towards a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of being like, do you want a relationship? I try to keep like the question very open-minded or like open-ended, be like, where do you see things going?
I would say I agree that like I know eventually I'm looking for a relationship, but I don't know after 3 dates. Maybe you know that you're looking for it with that person, but I wouldn't know at that point if I was looking for it with that person.
And I think it's not to say like I would like want to be in a relationship at that point.
Uh-huh.
But I think how I phrased it before is like, I think it's good every so often to check in to make sure we're on the same page. I think that's it. That's all of our hot takes. At least.
I feel like we agreed on almost all of them. Was there one that we had differing opinions on?
I don't think so.
I think that was just an echo chamber of us agreeing on everything. I know this is not the red flag episode, but one of my red flags in a person is if they do not have a community of their own, that is a red flag. Yeah. We are not besties.
My red flag version of this is if you don't have someone that you've been friends with for a long time.
How many years would you say we need at least this many years of friendship to...
I guess like 5.
Okay. I think that's a good amount.
Yeah. I think.
Because like if you've moved or whatever, like at least 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can't maintain relationships outside of just, you have to be physically present to enjoy a relationship.
That's a huge red flag if you can't do that. I would agree. This is not a red flag podcast. I'm sorry. I derailed us. But yeah, I agree. Like I have friends in all other states. I have friends in other countries. I agree.
Well, thanks for joining on today's study break.
That was fun. Yeah. Thanks for having me to agree with you on everything.
I'm sure we'll do hot takes and real talks on other things at some point.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Thanks, everyone. Next week, we'll probably have a lesson, but we'll see how that goes.
Or maybe not.
Yeah, I think we probably will, because after this week, I'll have more.
You'll have everything, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Have any questions about human sexuality? Submit them to our anonymous form linked in the show notes. Thanks for joining this study break. Make sure to follow Broad Sex Education so you don't miss the next lesson. Your homework? Share this episode with a friend, because the best way to destigmatize sex is to talk about it. And if you're ready for extra credit, grab our free Essential Sex Conversation workbooks by signing up for our newsletter. Yay!
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.